Well, the portal's popping, you guys, and USC is being predicted to pluck a couple of guys from Ohio State and a couple of guys from Oregon Ducks. Continue that dominance here at USC. All that, those topics plus your phone calls next. Well, hey guys, welcome. I don't know what happened to Ryan, but welcome again to Wednesday's show, where basically we're going to run down some topics for you. I know it's the offseason. You guys are having a little bit of trouble with the offseason. We're going to have basically topics. Ryan, I think we're going to talk about some portal, some recruiting, maybe even talk about what Riley had to say this week and some of the scrums. And then if you guys agree with us, give us a call. Let us know what you think. And even more fun, if you disagree with us, chime in. Phone number right up here is 888-997-4539. I'm not being joined by Jamal this week again. But we do have Ryan stepping in again. Appreciate you being here, Ryan. How you doing tonight?
Excellent, my friend. Good to be here with you. Good seeing you as always. And yeah, I don't know what was going on with my camera, so I had to last minute switch live on the air. But hey, I got my hockey jersey on. Stanley Cup playoffs, baby. Gabriel Landeskog is playing in his first game in 3 years tonight, so I had to rep that captain jersey.
Absolutely,
well, too, baby.
Well, let's just dive right into it because it's been really good. You know, the portal. This is the portal season, and I mean USC's roster is already amazing, and it looks like they're adding a lot of depth pieces and some veteran depth pieces. So we have some great. We have a really young and talented team, good mix of veteran and young, but it is thin at some positions, and so the ability to add certain players at certain positions seems like it's paying dividends for USC. Last week we heard about Kennedy Urlacher coming on from Notre Dame. But, you know, Ryan, that usually when you bring guys in, usually there's kind of it's just that echo effect, right? Where if something comes in and then usually it's going to rebound, someone's going to leave. And that did happen this week. Yeah.
You know, I think, probably talked about Urlacher last week. I think that's a good addition with the versatility there, the size, the speed, how he can play kind of in the box, be a box safety, but also play center field if need be. But, then you're going to kind of potentially push guys out just because there might not be, it's just a depth chart thing. So Jarvis Boatwright Jr. enters the portal. Was that yesterday, Tim? All these days are jumbling all together. I think it was yesterday. 2024 class, I think 3-star from Clearwater, Florida, talented kid. But I think this was one of those just, now he looking for new opportunity. I think with the players they have on the roster currently, plus adding Urlacher, plus you have the safeties coming in the 25 class. And then he's not looking to the 26 class by any means, like he's looking at here and now, but we know what USC is doing in the 26 class in the secondary, adding like a ton of secondary players when you look at corner and safeties. So, never like to see guys leave the commit. You want to stay Trojans forever. He will be a Trojan forever, was here for a year as a redshirt freshman, but I think for him, it's more about opportunity and potential playing time. And, being from Florida, I would not be shocked at all if he ends up back in SEC country or ACC country out there closer to home.
Yeah, that's going to be a good landing place for him. And you did speak of the 25 class, and Kendarius Reddick was a guy, if you remember, he is a guy. And he was one of the names of the newcomers when we first started talking to Riley early about who he was looking at. And he was really quick to talk about how much he was looking forward to Kendarius and seeing what he could do. So, it's tough to see Jarvis leave, but again, it's part of the game, right? I mean, it's what happens. You're going to have guys coming in, you're going to lose Trojans. And like you said it perfectly, Ryan, guy came in here, blood, sweat, and tears for a couple of years, just kind of hoping he's going to have his chance to get on the field, and didn't really happen. So, the loss of Boatwright, the pickup of Urlacher, and then we also were talking about the linebacker position, because that's one position that's highly competitive at the top. Very heavy. You can't really get more proven, and then young at the same time with that position. But just your thoughts on the pick of Tamir Robinson from the 6'3", 231 from Penn State.
Yeah, I really like this pickup because it's a player that I think has really high upside. Appeared in 14 games last year for Penn State, who was a playoff team. I believe battled a little bit of injuries throughout the season, a little bit, but did get on the field, finished with 11 tackles. But a high priority prospect, I think a 4-star coming out of high school. He's from Pennsylvania, I believe the Pittsburgh area. So getting him out west, obviously maybe just wanted to change of scenery. It's an interesting for him because with Penn State losing guys to the NFL draft, he could have been viably paying for a starting spot. So I think that speaks on his talent level and his ability and his size. You mentioned, I think 6'3", 230. I mean, prototypical linebacker size. So to be able to see what Coach Rob Ryan can do with him will be exciting. But what's nice about him as well is, to me, I don't know how you feel, Tim, but to me, Gentry and Desmond Stevens are kind of your established starters. And then you will see a rotation, obviously, with Jaden Walker and with other guys in that mix. And I think Robinson will be that. Whereas if they did end up, which I'm not saying it's done yet, the portal still, there's guys in it, but the Simpson kid from Boise State, to me, he's probably looking for a starting role, which will then command higher NIL dollars. And so if you go after a guy like that, you obviously want to go after the best players possible. But you're giving NIL dollars to a guy that maybe you wouldn't give as much playing time because I think they have established who that linebacker room is. So getting a guy like Robinson is more of a depth piece, but still having 3 years of eligibility is a guy that could potentially start at some point, fill in the rotation. God forbid Eric Gentry gets banged up. Like he has some playing experience in the Big Ten, in big situations. So a high ceiling, not a ton of tape on him, but I think it's a low risk, high reward kind of portal ad.
Yeah, I'm pulling for my Bosco Brave in Andrew Simpson. I'm hoping that they can make that happen because, like you said, having that guy, like we know, proven in the interior, bringing in guys, we know we have studs like a Jaden Walker. I am expecting to see what he can do. Anthony Beavers has been trying to get over that hump. You know what I mean? But what we really want to see is somebody that's done it, shown it, and I do think that Andrew's that guy. So if we can get Simpson to close this part out, I think we're looking great in the second and third level. So, and we already know that the first level, the line is just incredibly insane. So I'm excited for that position. But we got our first caller, Ryan. If you want to grab that, Ryan, perfect transition. But caller, before we get started with you, hey guys, if you're out there, thank you so much for being here. If you're on Twitter, thank you all so much. Appreciate all you guys are here over on the YouTube channel as well. If you're here over on the YouTube channel, please do us a favor and go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate you all being here. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Call, you there? I hear you, caller, but I don't hear you talking. You all right?
Don't be shy. Don't be scared.
All right. Maybe you can call back when I'm just going to go ahead and let him go. So guys, I think maybe you fell asleep. We did call about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm on hold too long.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're right in the middle of talking about the linebacker.
We need that nice voice that's like, all right, you're through. We'll put you through in a few minutes. Hold, please. We need that nice voice,
We got it.
Delilah from Orange County. Delilah.
They're stacking up now, so this is good. All right, it's pretty good. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up? It's Christian from Yeho.
Hey, Chris. Okay, listen. Should I warn Ryan? Are you coming out? Are you coming with are you bringing it this week?
It's not. No, nothing too bad.
Okay.
Opinion.
So Ryan, Christian has stumped me on more than one occasion with some really good questions. I'm glad I got you here to back me up a little bit. Christian, how you doing? First off, appreciate you calling in. Thanks for being a longtime supporter of the show. What's on your mind?
So, a couple questions I've written down. How many freshmen or redshirt freshmen do you think will start this year, if any?
Wow, good question. Okay, we're gonna take a start. It means so start at some point, not start game one, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so how many do we think? You said true freshmen. Is that also correct? Or true or redshirt?
Or redshirt, yeah.
True or redshirt, yeah.
Well, off the bat, I think right away, I think that Marcellus Williams, the way he could play up on line, physical as well as his cover skills. I mean, we saw in the spring game. I know it's a spring game, but he's great at baiting quarterbacks. He's got great burst. He's a ball hawk, but he can also come up and hit. He can also come up and lay. He's not the biggest guy, but there's certain guys you see him a lot. in football that hit a lot harder than they look they're going to hit. And he's definitely one of them. And speaking of Bosco Brave, that's why it pops to mind right away. So that's one right off the bat I can think about. What about defense? Do you see anybody, Ryan?
Well, on defense, obviously Marcellus Williams, like you mentioned. Again, it's starting is hard because I think, especially on defense in Dantlin's system, we're going to see a heavy rotation of a lot of players. So if we're talking true freshmen, I think Jakeem Stewart is for sure going to see the field this year. I mean, he's, from all indications, is blowing coaches away in practice, just his size already, his speed. And he hasn't even played high school ball in the last year. So I think he's a guy definitely that we'll see.
Desmond Stevens. Desmond Stevens, a redshirt freshman. So, right. He kept his redshirt, did he?
I think he played too many. I think he actually ended up playing more than 4 games.
Okay, well then never mind.
I think you too many on special teams.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, then. But I think Jaden Walker we could see. But again, I wouldn't put a start tag next to Walker. He'll be more of a depth rotational. But I think he'll see playing time. But I think Marcellus Williams and Jakeem Stewart we could see as like quote unquote starters. It'll still be a rotation, but I think
Braylon Shelby,
a lot of playing time.
Oh, he's a sophomore too. I keep going sophomore. Sorry, I want to get say second. If we change that to second year guy, because then it'll be easier. But
basically, a guy that hasn't seen playing time yet.
All right, okay. So you make it hard. So true freshman or redshirt freshman. I'm saying it's probably Jakeem Stewart and you're looking at Marcellus Williams. I think those would be your two on defense that I could see popping there. Offense.
Yeah. Offense is harder. I have 2 that I can think of. One is a lineman, other is a receiver, but I had a much time on offense picking.
Man. I mean, if you talk about Corey Sims possibly, and I mean, we don't know. Is that who you're thinking of for your possible starter at some point during the season for
yeah.
Okay.
I have Corey Sims and Justin Tanu.
Oh, that's true, huh? Because that's right. Because he's a red shirt. You're right. Yeah, I think those are both solid. And I'm not being morbid or anything, but at quarterback, you're one play away. But that's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, it did look like at the end of the spring camp, and just off of reps and who was doing what, which you really don't want to put too much emphasis into. But I mean, we saw Longstreet is going to be battling with Sam Heward, and you don't know early on. I think Sam, right? Ryan, would you agree? If God forbid something were to happen to Jaden, by the way, you guys, as we know, Jaden's pretty much, not that it was a surprise, but it's now been very clear that you have Jaden Mayava is going to be your QB1 going into fall camp. I'm sure they'll continue to battle, but I think it's going to be his job. But I think if something were to happen, he missed a quarter or a half or a whole game, I think that early, I think it would be Sam Heward. I don't know your guys' thoughts on that. But I would say later on the season, if whatever, it's a long season. We've seen guys get nicked up. I mean, there were a couple times last year that I thought we're going to see possibly having Mayava coming in a little bit earlier because Miller Moss was getting the crap knocked out of him. He looked like he was concussed, a couple of times. So I mean, it looks like you're as a quarterback position, you're one play away. So he could possibly be another one. All right, later in the season, early season, I think you might see Sam, but you never know.
Hey, Christian, you still there?
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts.
Yes,
this is another player, and receivers tough because we've seen in Lincoln Riley's kind of system that it's rare that like the young guys start right away. They usually have to we saw Jacoby Lane didn't play at all really freshman year until the bowl game when he kind of exploded for those touchdowns and great catches. Mekhi Lemon was very sparing. And then obviously the sophomore years when we saw them. So outside of Zachariah Branch, we haven't seen a ton, but Tanook Hines is another name. I know Corey Sims is kind of that bigger body, true wide receiver 1. But when you think of just a game record with speed that we haven't seen since Zach Branch's freshman year, because we lacked that last year. So Christian, what's your thoughts on Tanook Hines? I think he's a guy that, again, not like a starter, but I think he could spot play and get some reps here kind of mid-season and onward.
Yeah, I think Tanook Hines is good. I watched a lot of his film. He's a track guy, super good long speed. I could see him having a pretty big impact as well.
Wish he could have been here for spring. I mean, then we'd really be getting hyped up a little bit, but missing the entire spring, getting into the fall. And we are saying the whole season. We're not saying starting game 1. So I like that as well, Ryan.
Yeah.
I was just too chicken to do that one. I really, if you've been watching me when we picked up Tanook Hines, I really was talking about that. It doesn't look like, if you watch this film, it doesn't look like it's track speed. It looks like he's a football player that's fast, not your typical track guy that's out there playing football. So,
well, Tim, if we're sticking with receiver, I mean, the name that we always forget, not saying necessarily me and you, but just in general, like Xavier Jordan, I think is going to have an impact. I mean, freshman last year from Sierra Canyon, local kid, the only receiver in the 24 class. So I think he's a guy that actually is kind of under the radar that no one's really talking about, but obviously super talented and could certainly be in that receiver rotation, especially with how kind of thin the room is this year.
we don't get to, Ryan, that we don't get to see like the team periods, right? We get to see them kind of catching, balls on routes and air and stuff. But he looks impressive. He looks smooth. You know what I mean? If I had one word for him, I would say when he's going to get the ball, he just seems smooth, and on his film, same thing. And I agree. I think he's that guy. But man, it is Joey Olsen. Okay, so we knew that had to be coming from Gabe. But yeah, so I mean,
I mean, the tight end, we're going to see it. That's a good point, though. We didn't even bring up tight ends. Walter Matthews, Joey Olsen, Walker Lyons. I mean, one of those three tight ends.
Lyons definitely is not going to be a Reg. He played.
Not Lyons, I know, but young guy. I mean, still, they're all in that younger realm.
Yeah. I told you. See, Christian brings the questions, man. And I love these. Anyone out there, there are no really questions that people bring up generally during the show that aren't pretty amazing. But Christian, every time you call on, you always bring it and appreciate it. Anything else for us?
Thank you. I do appreciate it. I have a lot more, but I'll just ask you one more, just so I'm not taking up everybody's time.
Save the rest for next week.
Okay. So previous special teamers, who will have the biggest impact on either the defense or offensive side of the ball this year? People that were pretty much strictly on special teams last year or the year before.
Ooh.
That's a good question. I mean, to really kind of pay attention to who's all on those special team units, like how involved was like Jaden Walker last year in like special teams?
You just took my. That would have been my guess, is a guy like Jaden Walker getting out there. Wow, that's a tough one.
Like Elijah Newby, another one that moved to edge, right? And they're really excited about him in the edge room.
I think there's one just going right over your guys' head right now.
Making it too hard. Okay, so I'm thinking from where you said that, I think you're thinking maybe it's somebody on the offensive side, on the kick return team.
I'm thinking more kickoff and punt. My pick is Christian Pierce.
I was going to say that, but I just did. I got cold feet, but I like it, Christian. Yeah.
Safety room's going to be there's battles all over the place. We know that Bishop and Kamari, but if we remember last year, there was a lot of rotation at safety. So I mean, you're going to see guys get happy. I mean, the one thing about the secondary is so talented. It's so deep. That safety room is just ridiculously deep. I mean, that's why if there's one position where I'm like this during spring, and I think that keep hanging on to those guys is going to be great. We lost Boatwright, but I mean that safety room is deep and the competition is going to be good. But I think they're going to feed. I think that a lot of those guys are going to get that rotational play. Belk's and Lynn, they're gonna rotate those guys. So I think that everyone's gonna be happy, and that's a solid answer too. We got all excited because that's a guy that could get up, go get the ball, but also just lay the wood. You know what I mean? Like when he hits, he really hits. So that's a great call with Christian Pierce.
Yeah, great call. I think he's had a good spring camp, and there's a lot of excitement kind of around what he can bring to the overall room, to the overall defense. And like you said, Tim, like I think it's clear Ramsey and Bishop are your two kind of starters, but we'll see a heavy rotation. And they do so much exotic packages and different rotations with different, some different linebacker sets. Obviously, Anthony Beavers can play in the box, being a true linebacker, but can drop back if needed to, considering he was a safety. So yeah, I'm excited to see Christian Pierce. We just haven't really been able to see him much because he's dealt with some injury stuff and obviously being a younger guy. So yeah, that's a good one for sure.
Christian, crushing as always, man. Appreciate your call. It's just absolutely solid as always, man.
Thanks, Christian.
Good call, Christian.
Great meeting you.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Fight on.
Fight on, Christian.
Right on, bro.
Great way to knock it off. Started. We lost a couple of calls, but we got a couple more on the queue right now. You guys' number right here is 888-997-4539. I know Ryan has to get out here at a hard 6:30. That's in 5 minutes, but we'll keep it rolling as long as we have phone calls.
I'll stay on a little past. I'll stand a bit. I'll just eventually give you the fight on and drop off, but I'll stand a little past.
All right.
They go so fast. These always go so fast.
I know. Well, we got another call. Hey, caller. Hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Aaron from India.
Aaron.
Indio.
Thank you so much for calling. What's on your mind? You got a question for us like Christian, or do you where do we mess up, or do you want to add anything we talked about early on in recruiting in the portal?
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to talk about recruiting. I wasn't listening. I was just calling, so I don't know if this was talked about already. But obviously recruiting, I mean, with all the crystal balls even coming in with Ely and Lyons and even Albert Hill. But I was just like, I want to get your thoughts, like what the strategy is for kids committing early. Like, I have a theory. I know, like, Bowden said that he doesn't really want to give it out, but kind of what they're doing. But I just kind of like, I don't know, maybe they're doing something like where if you commit early, you're promised like a percentage of the donations. Like, let's say if you commit early, you get 5%, right? As opposed to if someone commits later, maybe they only get 2% of the donations or whatever like that. So, I don't know, it's kind of my thought. Like, obviously, I didn't really follow Notre Dame and kind of what Bowden was doing at Notre Dame and if kids were coming early or not. But I feel like this is like kind of unheard of, like to see all these commits coming early, the big time commits. And so, I don't know, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on like, what do you think their strategy is for getting kids to commit early? Like, I know Bowden did say that he wants to create family, right? Even before they step on campus. I feel like there has to be some type of NIL strategy for committing early.
Yeah, I will.
Or incentive that they're giving to these kids.
Yeah, Bowden's been very clear. And so going back to him and looking at Notre Dame, I know this because, again, I teased my Notre Dame fans last year about winning recruiting in like April, because they got off hot and they do. But last year they got off hot and they kind of faded a little bit. So it seems like that's, there's a lot of energy there. But from what we understand, because we don't know any of these real numbers, and believe me, there's no way. If the last place on earth we're going to know the numbers, the real numbers would probably be like a Notre Dame. But I will say that I think the way this is being built, I think the way the recruits, Ryan, are talking, it seems like the closeness when you're there at practice. I mean, it's great to go see the practice, great to see the new guys, but really the last couple of weeks has been really, really great to watch the recruits coming in. They seem tight. They seem to hang together. I mean, I know that's a typical thing for recruiting. Guys, they're brothers. They love each other, right? They're going to be a package deal, and then on signing day, they go different places. But I mean, it looks like they really are putting the legwork in. Everything about recruiting this year, it just seems different. And anytime you hear Chad Bowden talk, you hear his voice. It's hard not to get excited. And I'm sure he has these, like you said, the families and the players bonding. These events they're going to have some massive weekends coming up in June to solidify that. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on the strategy and how they're really just going great? 23 recruits, and the best part about those 23 recruits, you guys, right? 12 of them are linemen. Yeah. Either on offense or defensive line. I think there's like 5 offensive linemen and like 7 defensive linemen. I mean, it's lineman heavy. And here's what I'm saying. I want to start the joke now because someone will steal it. They always steal things we do on the show. When is Riley going to start caring about offense, you guys? Because I'm seeing a lot of flash on the defense. He's all defense. He doesn't care. Lincoln Riley does not care about offense. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the recruiting?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think it's twofold. And you mentioned it, Tim, and Caller, you mentioned it as well. And about what Bowden's talked about and kind of building these relationships. Because, once you start getting the families in campus, I mean, you see Tapui's basically moved into the dorm already. I feel like the dude's already at USC Commons or whatever, already moved in. He's there every single practice. And so you get these players around building relationships. And so it makes it much more difficult for them to want to decommit and go somewhere else. So I think that's the most important thing. And Bowden's talked about that, so I don't need to go into details. The other part that is my opinion is when you look at kind of the NIL strategy that you brought up. And again, remember, as of today's NIL landscape, these aren't binding contracts. So there's nothing binding. I know there's agents and managers in this, but technically it's not like a binding contract. But I think with these big programs, there are ways to kind of protect yourselves to where if you give a certain amount of NIL, if the player then leaves, they have to pay that or a percentage back. We see what Arkansas is trying to sue now for Madden Iamavila for basically taking money, enrolling in January, and then now hitting the portal and going to UCLA. And they're trying to basically say, hey, we paid you this, you got to stay. We've heard many other instances happen of other programs happening. So I believe, I'm not saying this is for sure happening. I'm not in those rooms or anything. So I don't want anyone to quote like this is factual for sure. But my belief is that there's definitely some NIL strategy of like protection of, hey, you're here, we're building these relationships, but if you do decide to leave, like you're going to have to give us some back of what we gave you. And so that's obviously going to lock guys in because, you know, you're not going to be able to pay back if you spend something or whatnot. So that's just my opinion. But I think the relationship, the families is like the most important. But then obviously checking the boxes for NIL and protecting yourself certainly helps because, you know, if guys take the money and then leave 6 months later and go get more money, you know, that's how you get yourselves in bad situations like USC did last season this time of year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think they got any money back from Rakes when he pulled the switcheroo to head off back into the.
But so
the
this
SEC.
they weren't. I don't think they were doing this last year. I think this is a new kind of initiative, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that they there was, you know, when they come in through the transfer portal, it's a little bit different than when they had the freshmen because they were very conservative. I mean, that's what people don't realize. And they used to say, "What's going on with USC's recruiting?" They were recruiting like you're supposed to do. You know, people don't realize this. I mean, the Tennessees of the world just flipped off the NCAA and say, well, we'll take you to court. You know, we're not going to listen to your rules. USC was the other side of that, super conservative and would not sign NIL to the guys who are already here on campus. And, you know, it's been well documented. That's hurt USC with a number of recruits. But I don't think we're still even there. I mean, the facade of amateurism and not having not having inducements to bring guys to a campus. I know I think that's still on the books, right? I mean, I think it really is. So if someone, it's not technically pay for play yet, is it, Ryan? Or am I getting that wrong? Because it's not tied to them actually staying. So I don't know how a university could go back and try and actually get that money back unless it's probably in some kind of a court situation. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, there's no like legalities to it. It's who knows? It's all, I mean, there's ways to do it, I'm sure, but it wouldn't be like USC versus said player. It'd be probably a third party fighting. Like it'd be House of Victory, I guess, or something. I don't know. Yeah. Wild. And you saw the judge today, just the judge basically put a hold on roster caps. So that's being pushed down the line.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. It's going to be evolving. NIL and the strategy is going to be evolving. And it'll be interesting. But all I do know is I think that USC has it rolling. I think the flavor, and this does not seem like a class that is going to fall apart. Assuming that the team performs on the field, this just seems like a class that's going to stick. Of course, there every year there's a couple of guys that are going to flip. There's going to be some guys that flip, but you'll add some people and you'll lose some people. That's what happens in a recruiting class. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
So sure. Great points. Hey, do you have anything else to add for us?
That's it, man. Thank you.
No, thank you. Great. I mean, another great call. Great call. Love exploring that stuff because Ryan, I just think that a lot of this stuff's going to be answered as we go through these seasons and as stuff gets written down and there's a little more clarity to what's going to be allowed as far as what the schools can do and what, you know, how much money the NIL and how the NIL can be directly involved. And it looks like it's going to be coaches side by side with NIL and, you know, and GMs and just roster construction. So
yeah, exactly.
That's the evolution.
When rev share kicks in and, you know, hopefully we'll have a little bit more normalization of like how actual like free agency works, I guess.
Well, it's great to have. We have it's a nice healthy crew split between Twitter and YouTube right now. Appreciate you guys all being here. Looks like we had 3 phone calls. I promised Ryan he has his hockey to cover and we're past 6:30 right now. But So we kind of hit it there a little bit. There were a couple other issues we wanted to talk about really quickly, but I think we kind of took care of it in the call. I mean, he brought up Elbert Hill, the prediction now that USC is going to go, well, they're going to go into Ohio and just take an Ohio State guy that everyone thought was going to happen. Really great corner, 5'11", 170. You want to add anything to that, Brian?
No, I mean, elite dude, obviously. Number one, 5-star on Rivals, 4-star consensus, number 1 corner on Rivals, number 4 corner consensus. So obviously just a really, really talented guy. And yeah, USC seems to be building a little pipeline in the state of Ohio, which is great. Obviously, Sean Alston, running back, already committed, and other prospects they're going after as well. So, but you know, Elbert Hill and his family and his dad has spoken very highly about this coaching staff, about Riley, about the realness, about the relationship building, about kind of the vision. I know fans may get sick of hearing that, but Riley always talks about like the vision and kind of what the future looks like. And they have a very clear vision in place. If anyone watched the Josh Pate interview with Lincoln Riley, it was a great interview. You should check it out. I think he dropped it this morning or yesterday. But really kind of reiterated again, like the vision and all the staff being in lockstep of what that vision is. And it seems like Elbert Hill, based on what his dad has said, what he has said, that they see that and believe that. And I think that speaks down to all the recruits and why this momentum is happening. Is maybe even just a year ago, that vision wasn't quite as strong or wasn't as believed maybe or perceived. And now it seems like everyone's totally buying into it. And so I think, you know, Hill has certainly been that. And, you know, it's a prediction. He's not officially committed. But I think what's interesting, Tim, and I said this earlier when I recorded, like, I hope I always see Trojan Nation and Trojan family being overly respectful. And obviously, I'm sure there's some that maybe aren't. I hope that's not the case. But when this prediction came out, all of a sudden, Elbert Hill's dad came out and said they're getting like attacked by Ohio fans and saying like, oh, you're a traitor leaving, and who knows what they're all going through. So, it's just, that's part of the recruiting thing. That's kind of like stuff that you don't think about is these are 17-year-old kids making a decision, and you have grown men like attacking them if they don't go to the school that they want to or their home team. So I'm not really, no one needs to hear a PSA from me, but I would just say, always let's everyone keep it classy. But obviously if they come here, welcome them with open arms and join them as new family members here in the great state of Cali.
And the flip side of that.
Yeah.
I'll bet you there were a ton of guys just hand-wringing and jumping and beforehand just pleading on Twitter for Boatwright to come to SC. And now he's leaving, after being, again, a productive member of the team on defense, as far as like, just on the practice field, et cetera, and these guys all contribute and they leave. And then some fans, and we have them too. I mean, it's not just Ohio State, although I would say that Ohio State tends to have a lot more than anyone else. I don't know. I've been a lot of places in my life, and I'll tell you, some fans just really don't know how to enjoy victory. I'll simply put it that way. And entitlement. I mean, there's comments like, how dare someone from Ohio go to California, as they come into California and yearly take players out of Southern California. I don't understand how some of these fans think this works. That certain people, I always call them kids, certain recruits, they have plans and they what they want to do. It doesn't always mean that they're going to stay home. And because they don't stay home, everyone has something they're looking for that's different. That's the big thing about recruiting. People just make assumptions, and it's hurt USC a lot, and I think Ohio State, which is refreshing because that's why I led off in the beginning. It just looks like USC. I know USC is going to lose some battles to Oregon, but it looks like USC is winning those battles. I mean, Talanoa Ely. I mean, it's like these things are real. Ryder Lyons. I think it's going to be predicted to come to USC. It just seems like USC is now. Are they going to win them all? No, but. Be honest out there, you guys. Last year, when we saw that Ohio State was involved or Oregon was involved, it's like, oh, great, here comes the bag, because they were dropping big bags. Matter of fact, online, you see Ohio State fans now talking about why Hill's coming to SC. Oh, they're dropping bags. Of all the schools, probably next to like maybe a Texas A&M, Miami, talk about dropping bags in order to get players. That's football now. And believe me, there's more to it than just bags. And it really always has been, even the people who are cracking on Oregon. There's a lot more involved. And I think that's what we're seeing that's why having a Bowden here at USC, you're really seeing that effect. Really quickly, I guess we should hit some of the comments and then we can get you out of here. So again, Gabe coming. That's what I love about Gabe. He always goes bold, and he's going with Longstreet as that guy we're talking about, freshman or redshirt freshman playing. Fighter on. Thank you for checking in. Appreciate you. Brian Jenkins, thank you for checking in as well. And then Christian also. Christian, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that as well. Thank you for being here and donating money. Fight on, man. Appreciate that very much. And then Dan the Diesel Freak. I'm not. This guy is definitely not a Trojan fan. He's a little bit. Oh, you know what? The national champions. So I think he's an Ohio State fan. Thank you for your massive donation. Thank you, Dan, for the donation. He wants to know where my national championship ring is. Well, I guess I'd have to play on a national championship team in order to have a champion ring. Or Dan, do you think, are you a player? Do you have a ring when you're Dan? When your team wins, is that your national championship ring?
Yeah, I got married like 7 years ago. This is my natty ring. I won that. I won natty. Married up. I married up.
Thanks also, Ro, for being here. Guys like that, guys, representing, supporting us all. Make sure you guys go check out Gabe. I know Gabe was last night. I think Gabe put out another update. I'm glad Gabe's doing videos again. I don't know, Ryan. I was going to put out a APB for him if I didn't see him pretty soon.
Yeah,
but appreciate.
Need to recharge.
Got to take some time off during the off season. Appreciate you guys all being here, as always, and support. We will be back again next week, same time. Although, you know what, Ryan? I think we are moving this thing to 7 o'clock. I think 6 o'clock is just a bit too early on the West Coast here. So I think we're probably, we said at the very beginning, we were going to figure it out. Is it 6? Is it 7? We've tried 6, and we're going to try some 7 next week and going forward and see which works best for everybody. But I think that's going to wrap it up. Any other topics that we haven't hit that we did miss?
Let me just ask you quick, and I'll get out of here after. We'll just both get out of here. Let me ask you this quick. So Ryder Lyons obviously got the crystal ball. He's been, it's been kind of, I don't want to say roller coaster, but he was always trending SC, and then after Williams flipped, it was like, okay, well, is Ryder going to be in the same class? And now it's trending like obviously he's going to be in 27. What's just your thoughts on that kind of who's on Longstreet, Jonas Williams, Ryder Lyons? Like, do you think it's going to work out and perfect? And we're talking years down the line. Like, 2 of these guys aren't even on campus yet. One of them's not even committed yet. Just curious your thoughts on kind of the quarterback assimilation kind of for the next basically 5 to 7 years.
You need to get a quality quarterback in every class. And what we saw last year and the situation we were in, and it's not disparaging either one of our quarterbacks that played last year, we definitely saw that which Malachi Nelson, by the way, I guess is in the transfer portal. I'm not kidding. He's in the portal again. I don't know if that's a joke. I don't know if it's a joke. Okay, so I'd be very careful about that. Very careful about that. Twitter, there's usually some humor on Twitter, but I'd love to know if that's true. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. The young man's popping around. But anyway, going back to it, and the things last year when you don't secure yourself a quarterback, right? The whole Dylan Raiola thing and the Lagway last year, we kind of petered out on that last year and missed out after having Nelson, who got injured. You guys remember this? People are saying, "Oh, he was a bust. He was a bust." The young man, a couple things. One, he didn't give himself the 5-star rating, right? He didn't walk in and say, "I'm a 5-star." These recruiting sites did. He didn't. Also, he did have, I believe he had a significant arm injury. And I don't know if that was a cascading effect or he just hasn't really got his mechanics back from the injury, but he just didn't seem like he was that same quarterback that he was in high school. Mm-hmm. I think it plays out for some pretty good competition. I think that there are situations. I think Jonas Williams, I really like, he's a baller, man. I mean, his accuracy and laser is great. Longstreet just has an arm and you just sit there. He's soaking stuff up. I've seen him. I've seen him doing some footwork stuff, after practice. And I mean, it's a good place to be with the competition you're looking at, because we kind of missed the mark 2 years in a row, and I think we saw that really hurt quarterback play last year. At an elite level. I love what our quarterbacks did last year, but if we were truly honest, and it wasn't their fault, okay, our offensive line was kind of a mess. So we figured out you could hold in the Big Ten. Like, holding in the Big Ten is blocking. If you're not holding, then you're not blocking in the Big Ten. And so once they learned that, it got a little bit better towards the end. But if anybody's going to tell me that quarterback play didn't hurt this team last year, they weren't the reason why. Matter of fact, I agreed with Riley when he said that Miller played good enough to win the game and the defense kind of fizzled. I mean, the real story last year was that quarterback position, maybe a little bit on the offensive line, but also to a bigger degree, I think it was the lack of depth at the interior defense. With our tackles, or our 3 technique and our nose tackle, just our 0 tech, not being able to just get that line of scrimmage, and then which led to when Gentry went down, there was no pass rush, and so that it was the defense really late in games, you guys, that was killing us and for a lot of losses. I do think though that this year, that obviously the defense is the strength of the team. I think that you stacking the offense, the quarterbacks like you just lined out for us, are they all going to stay? No, right? Because they're all talented quarterbacks. There's no way I see everybody staying for their entire time here at USC, but they're going to compete. And if you have guys competing, that's exactly what you want. You want the cream to rise to the cream to rise to the top, and it's a guarantee USC is going to have an elite quarterback. That's what I do know for the next 3 years. We have a call. I know you got to go. Do you want to take the call really quick?
Yeah, take it. If anything, I'll pop off and you can finish it.
All right. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, Tim? It's the champ in the house. That's right. Dan, a.k.a. the man. How are you doing tonight, good sir?
We're doing great. What are your thoughts on USC football?
Lincoln Riley is doing some amazing things over at Southern Cal. And as far as recruiting into transfer portal go to USC, I give them credit. I honestly give them credit for how much, they're trying to advertise the brand of, the Fight On brand, which honestly, like I said, I give them credit for it. But also, here's my 2 cents to Lincoln Riley. As someone who's played the game of football myself in high school, Lincoln, just look forward to the 2026, 2027, 2028 class. Because I know there's a lot of guys in that class that would love to commit to Southern Cal, because that is a team with a good history, but also a team that's looking forward to bringing the fight on energy to the Big Ten, to really make that big splash into the Big Ten. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the matter. But Tim, let me ask you a question here, good sir. How you been? It's been a minute.
Oh, listen, Dan, nobody wants to hear how I'm doing. I'm doing just peachy. Appreciate you calling in. Good call. Congratulations on your national championship, and wish you all the best. All right. Take care. Thanks for calling. Well, all right. That looks like another one in the books. I think that it gets weird sometimes, Ryan. You just got to know that. When you have open phone lines, it's gonna get a little bit strange from now and then.
Hey Tim, I would love more non-SC fans calling in. Like, as long as it's respectful and whatnot, that's fun. I think it's fun interaction. So that's great. Love it. And the Big Ten, I'll just say, Tim, since we joined the Big Ten, like, I love the Pac-12, RIP, so much history, but like the immediate, like, almost rivalries created with Michigan, with Penn State, with some of these like schools, and like with just the interactions on Twitter, it's like, it just gets me fired up, because it's like, there's like, it's real hatred already for SC, which is fun.
Yeah, Raul's cleaning up for me. I didn't actually. I heard from someone that said it, but he's saying it was a parody account. I don't know, probably on Instagram or Twitter.
I looked, and I think he's.
No. I thought it would be really bizarre, especially the timing of it and going. But look, at this point in the young man's career, I don't know. I just want him to be happy and be successful. It would have been weird for him to transfer this late, especially after, again, the recent transfers and bouncing around. So yeah, no, I knew where that call was going. I'm generally Ryan. I do love. I mean, we do it. And previously on the other channel, we used to get calls from Ohio State. We used to get calls from Oregon, Oklahoma, Penn State. So they do come in. But yeah, and I actually do love them. I mean, it's good to mix things up a little bit. I think everything you kind of touched on the fact that Maeva Riley just gave the going endorsement. Not no real big surprise there. Someone in the chat, I forgot where it was asking what the situation is going to be with I'm blanking out. I got to find that question. Oh, he talked about the cornerback from San Diego, or something. He's talking about Brandon Arrington. Yeah. I think that's what he's talking about. And again, I think you did a good job. If you want to touch on that, you did a good job in the video you did earlier. You guys make sure you go check that out if you get time. You did a really good job talking about how when you're recruiting, you're not waiting. If you get an insanely talented guy like Hill, you want him to come in. And then you want, a Brandon Arrington to say, all right, I'm going to go compete. I mean, the secondary class that they talked about, the guys in the class talked about how epic this was going to be.
Yeah. They
have not been shy about how amazing the class is going to be. But I mean, at some point, how many of these guys can stick? I mean, it'd be great to have that many top elite, top 100, top 50 corners on your team, but it's not very likely that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you're always recruiting for, you're throwing the nets out wide and recruiting for yeses, not recruiting for hold-ons. They wouldn't go when Jonas Williams was looking at flipping and say, well, we're going after Ryder Lyons, so let's wait and see what he does. And we're seeing now with Oregon, right? That might actually screw them because they're kind of been waiting for Jared Curtis to see what he does if he picks Oregon or Georgia, and they may end up with no quarterback because of that. Not saying they're necessarily that was their strategy, but it's kind of how it plays out. So, I think Arrington is still very much in play for the Trojans. Obviously, Albert Hill hasn't even officially committed. If Hill commits, could that sway Arrington? Sure, of course, but I don't think that. No one should view that as like, oh, SC chose the wrong. I mean, we'll see 2-3 years from now if they chose the wrong one or whatnot. But again, you're recruiting, you're throwing the nets out. You're recruiting for who wants to be Trojans, and you're not waiting back and saying like, okay, let's just see who says yes, and then we'll pick and choose, because that's not how the recruiting game is played, especially not nowadays with NIL and everything.
I'm just in this world now that whenever USC's in it, if you got Belk recruiting someone, in the secondary, I just assume they're coming, especially when I see a crystal ball. But yeah, remember, you guys, even when these guys commit, it doesn't guarantee. We know with the talent, we know with the age of NIL, and also remember this: you stack positions. Once USC gets a deeper and more, which they already have really. The odds of these guys being so talented remaining on the team now, because you could leave at any time without any penalty, is going to be rare. But I mean, we have guys like Madden Reardon who nobody's really even talking about. But if you watch the guy, it's just an interception machine. The competition in that room is going to be big, and that's Riley. Riley said, when he was asked at practice Tuesday, what room do you think is the most unsettled? Where do you see some movement? And he talked about the cornerback room. And I don't think it's because there's a lack of talent there. I think it's just there's not a lot of clarity because of the talent in that room. I don't think anybody's truly separating themselves enough for him to be, okay, we know who our corners are going to be in spring.
Yeah, because I think that just shows the depth they have, which is great. That's what you want.
All right.
If you have it locked in the spring, then that means either you have the cream of the crop at the top, or that just means you don't have a lot of elite depth. And I think it's more the latter for USC, is the fact that they have a lot of elite depth guys competing. So it's a good thing.
It is. Well, you guys, again, thank you so much. We actually kept Ryan from his hockey game for an extra half hour. So thank you guys for the phone calls. That definitely did help us keep everyone. Thank you guys. I didn't get to everybody in the chat, but again, a thank you again to Dan the Diesel Freak and Kristen, sorry, that for dropping his donation to us. I appreciate you guys all being here. thank you guys. I know you guys all have options. I think we're probably going to be going at 7 p.m. next week to see, because it just seems like right now we have over 200, almost 250 people on the line right now. Many of you guys on Twitter, appreciate you guys all being here tonight.
And Tim, I just say before everyone pops out of here, we're going to be launching soon a message board on LAFB Network, free, no subscription like the others, but so we can start popping some recruiting stuff in there and intel, and obviously get hopefully all you guys commenting and having some fun in there. So look for that. We'll be launching a forum/message board on LAFBnetwork.com here probably in the next week or two.
And I'm gonna be out there at practice tomorrow. I have a bunch of pictures, and I think what I'm probably gonna do is just kind of do like a picture unload over maybe on the site, Ryan, just to where guys can come in and have a big gallery of a lot of the pictures, because there's lots of sites you guys. I was talking about the recruits, but more so just on the field. The guys are out there. The size difference is noticeable. The speed is noticeable. The athleticism is noticeable. This roster, anyone talking about next year, anybody talking about like USC, I think our Ohio State friend was telling us, oh, not this year, but next year there's going to be this. I think that they're just not seeing things clearly. I really do think that if the quarterback situation is what I think it's going to be, and really take that leap, and that competition really stays tight through the fall, I think that the defense is going to make will not be a liability late in the fourth quarter. That I can guarantee. I literally feel like I can guarantee that. And with the offense putting up the points in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten. By the way, a lot of these good, really like elite teams, they lost a lot on defense. You talk about the Michigan defense, you talk about the Ohio State defense, and even to a smaller degree, the Penn State defense. So I mean, these defenses that were pretty dang powerful, right? They lost a lot of guys, and it looks like USC, there's no doubt, USC got stronger. Not to mention Ohio State fan out there, you lost both of your coordinators, and I'm not remotely impressed with who you brought in to replace two really damn good national championship level coordinators. And here at USC, we know that if you do not replace your coordinators and your coaches properly, I don't care what logo you have, you're going to have trouble. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that.
One, Tim, last thing, I know I'm hurting myself here trying to stay on longer, but I just love chatting with you, talking SC. But I mean, Michigan had their spring game, and quarterback play is going to be suspect again for them. Bryce Underwood, obviously a huge talent, but true freshman, there's going to be growing pains, I think. So, and we see Michigan at the Collie in October. So,
yeah, nice and early. That's where you want to get that. Especially when I get that book in the books.
Yeah. So there's a lot of turnover in the Big Ten. So it's for SCs to take if they can seize it.
Again, thank you guys. Look for us next week at 7 p.m., not 6 o'clock. Ryan, Tim, fight on you guys, and we'll see you next week.